Welcome to Real Estate Investing Secrets. We're all looking for freedom and the opportunity to live better, more fulfilling lives. But most of us were trained our entire lives to work for someone else and chase their dreams. How can we use real estate investing as a vehicle to achieve financial freedom? My life is dedicated to answering your real estate investing questions and helping you build an investing business that allows you to change your life and the world around you, and to enable you to turn your dreams of financial freedom into a reality. My name is Mike Hambright from FlipNerd.com, and your questions get answered here on the Real Estate Investing Secrets Show. What's up, Freedom Fighters? Hey, welcome back for another episode. This is actually episode number 462, and we're with the legendary John Martinez today. John's a good buddy of mine. He's a member of our Investor Fuel Mastermind, one of our founding members, actually. And John and I have built up a pretty good relationship. We have I think I have a lot of respect for John. I hope he has I don't know if I have to request that you have a lot of respect for me, but hopefully there's some level of respect there. But, there's a few people in this industry that are really leaders and have helped move the industry forward. And John is one of those guys. So really excited to have him on the show today. John, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm good. Life could not be better.
Good. At the time we're recording this, just to kind of be transparent here, by the time this gets released, we'll be back from Investor Fuel, but you and I are going to be leaving here in just a few days to go out to Salt Lake City for our next meeting. And I'm pretty excited about it. We're honestly going to have about 130, 140 people out there next week. So looking forward to that. So one of the things that we were talking about today, John and I were catching up a little bit before the show here, and John has spent a lot of effort, and we have at FlipNerd too, really what we call kind of info marketing information, sharing content online. Obviously, this show is proof of kind of content we've been creating, and we've been doing this for 5 years. And so we've kind of had this discussion about how online marketers are probably generally a couple years ahead of real estate investor marketers. And that's what we're going to talk about today is really kind of where your marketing should go as a real estate investor and some things you need to think about that you maybe haven't been thinking about up until now. And so we're going to dive into that. Sound good to you, John?
Man, I love that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think people are going to get some real value. So if you're listening to the show right now and you're like, hey, I've got to go into a doctor's appointment, you may want to reschedule that doctor's appointment. This is going to be good. Unless it's a serious situation now. Kind of joking there, but it's going to be good. You want to listen up. So John, we were talking beforehand. Why don't you go ahead and maybe introduce yourself for those that if there's anybody listening to this that somehow doesn't know who you are, go ahead and tell them who you are.
Yeah, so almost 2 decades now, basically in sales, just climbing the corporate ladder for many of those years. About 5 or so years ago, maybe coming up on 6 now, I made the leap into opening my own business and just doing the one thing about all the sales stuff that I had done in my past that I really enjoyed, which was sales training. So for the last 5 years, I've been strictly sales training. Before that, built and grew sales teams, worked in corporate America. And for about the last 4 years, real estate investment just kind of swallowed up my business. There was a need there. I love the industry. So all I've been doing is training investors and their teams for about 4 years on how to turn more of their leads into deals, really.
Yep. Awesome. And that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Is I think historically, and sales guys, I'm kind of using some air quotes here, sales guys as much as any, like the average salesperson thinks that the answer to everything is more leads, right?
Yeah.
Historically. And we know that, more leads is not a bad thing, but that's not necessarily, if you're a real estate investor and you're listening to this, you know how hard it is to generate good leads. And so the question is, how do you squeeze more juice out of that fruit you already have, right? So what we're really kind of talking about today is what we refer to as lead conversion, improving your lead conversion. And I think that, John has been teaching for years at his boot camps about how to use your sales skills to convert more people, to help more people, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit today. But really what we're going to talk about is some things you can do in your content and how you talk to people that are not necessarily sales tactics. They're more marketing tactics, really, of how to build trust and build relationships with people. So John, you want to share your thoughts a little bit on kind of high level? Don't steal our thunder for the rest of the show, but just maybe kind of high level, what conversion kind of means to you.
Yeah, I mean, conversion is just, marketing is finding someone who's interested maybe in what you got. And conversion is converting them to a client of some sort. So, you know, my core business is the sales training part, which is a part of the conversion process, right? Like if a lead comes in and you're actually talking to a seller over the phone or face to face, like we really focus on that conversation. Can we, like, once we're talking to them, can we convert them into a deal? But the truth of the matter is there's all kinds of stuff you can do before that conversation, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do after that conversation that should increase the conversion rates overall.
Yep. Yep. And we've talked about, you know, you and I both know, let's be honest. I say this to our students all the time, is a lot of people that we end up buying houses from, they should have called us many years ago, sometimes a few decades ago, right? Like the issue that they're having, not always, but the issue that they are having sometimes, fairly often in this industry, has been going on for a long, long time. Like they just got to the realization. And so there's this idea of whether the person even knows that they have a problem yet, or that we're a potential solution for their problem. And sometimes it's like, you know, I was joking with you, John, before. You've given this joke about your wife, Amanda, and how it took her a while to say yes to you. Right. And so it's the same thing for sellers, right? Sometimes they don't really know that they want you or need you. But if you're around them and you're adding value and you just seem to be there whenever the time is right, then you're more likely to be the one that they pick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of my favorite shows is Shark Tank. I think probably everyone who watches your show probably also watches that show because it's that entrepreneurial type of discussion and culture. So one thing I always hear them say is they get kind of scared when they're talking to some type of business owner, and they go, oh, shoot, that's going to be a tough one because we've got to educate the public first. But I think that's the missing piece in real estate is the investors are kind of jumping into that whole conversion process and the lead generation process so late in the game where the home sellers already educated themselves. And I think that the future of lead gen in this space is the investors who figure out how do I educate, how do I get on the front end of this thing and find sellers that, like you said, don't even know, you know, that they have a major problem yet, what the problem can lead to, what the solutions are, what the options are. And I think the investors should get on the front end of that, you know, like you said, a year, 5 years, 10 years before they are used to coming to us. I think that's like the holy grail of the next 5 years of real estate investing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of this, what we call these two things are like problem aware and solution aware, right? So once they are aware of the problem, they're more likely to be aware of who the solution is. But if you can catch them before they're aware they have a problem and they're like, well, if I had that problem, I know who I would go to, that person that has added some value to me. And I know they're there, right? But marketers, us as real estate investors, we're not usually advertising to the people that aren't even aware they have a problem yet or kind of early on in the cycle. But you're right. Once they know, man, I'm going to have to do something about this house, or when mom dies, I'm going to have to do something. Like once they know, they start seeking out, solutions. And the problem is then you're heavily competing with everybody else that's after them, right? Once mom dies and files probate, then they get hit with 100 letters on the same day, right? But if you could brand yourself in a way to where who knows when you start marketing, when, well, we saw that mom was sick or whatever. But further in the cycle, they can say, boy, when mom dies, I'm going to contact that guy or that girl because I know they're the right fit for us.
Yeah, you know what it's like? It's like every town I've ever been to has like the one or two lawyers that like everybody knows. Like it may be a criminal defense lawyer or a malpractice lawyer, but like we've got two here. And every town I've ever been to, like that's the guy or the gal, right? They're always running commercials and like, hey, if I ever have that problem, that's who I'm going to. That's what it's like, right?
Yeah.
Because like I know the two lawyers in my town. And I don't think twice about them, but I know in the back of my head, hey, if I ever have a medical malpractice thing or a criminal defense, like I already know those are the guys I'm going to.
Yeah.
Same thing with real estate. Like, how do you become that person?
Right. Yep. So we kind of call that nurturing, right? Like you start to build a relationship on and nurture it. And when you talk to people, like talk a little bit about the marketing piece, because you're not saying have a house to sell. You're just like, maybe you're doing more like case studies about something that happened, or kind of talk about how you talk to that potential future seller differently early on in the cycle versus as real estate investors, most of us have been taught to just beat them over the head. Need to sell fast, need cash, need this. Like we can do it today, but it's like, that's not the message, right?
No, that's not the message. Let me try to think about this for a second. So, so let's think about how marketing goes typically today in real estate. So typically you're pulling a list of people who are likely to already be distressed, right? That's usually what kicks off everything.
Yep.
Who's likely to be, whether there's PPC or mailers or whatever.
They're already problem aware. They're aware they have
cold
a problem.
calling, yeah. So what you got to do is take a step back and go, how did they get to that point? Like, what was the progression of things that led them there? And that's where you want to start the conversation, right? That's where you want to start building the audience. So, if I was spitballing and I wanted to start, marketing is nothing but a bunch of, educated guesses, and you keep testing and then the data tells you where to go. So if I was going to make an educated guess to go, where am I going to start? It would be around probably something like simple home repair, right? Or aging family members, stuff like that. And just, I'd start putting out some content about, hey, this is going to happen to all of us. If you've got a leaky faucet, let me give you some, a couple people who I recommend in the area to fix it. Also, here's a fix for yourself. Occasionally, you want to get on top of these things because over time, if you don't take care of them, they can get out of control. And you're already starting to build that foundation for if they ever do get to the point of out of control, I also have another solution for you. Right. So you're building that list on the front end. And I think that's really where you want to get ahead of it.
Sure. And there's a lot of buzz, over the past, really the past maybe couple of years. Certainly it's heating up right now with how to use social media marketing for home sellers, right? But it's really hard to target people because you can't, and if you search in Google, like sell my house now, like Google knows you want to sell your house now, show the sell your house now ad guys, right? Facebook, you can't say, you can target people over a certain age, but you can't say, show me the people that are distressed. Show me the guy, I want to show this ad to people with cancer, right? So what's really working well, if anything, is retargeting, right? People consumed your content and then you can pixel them, you can kind of follow them around, right? So talk a little bit about kind of retargeting on Facebook and social media.
Well, that's exactly it, man. I think that's a huge piece people miss is it's really, really, I've had the luxury now of working with some of the best marketers I think in the world. Yeah. And I've learned a lot about marketing. Two of the biggest lessons is, or I guess the biggest lesson is like, we don't know. We just test a bunch of stuff and the data tells us what's important, who wants this. And I think when it comes, what you're saying is you can't guess like, okay, it's going to be Susie. She's going to be 45 years old. She lives in Cincinnati. And like, you can't target like that. What you have to do is you have to let people opt into your marketing themselves. You have to let them self-select. So like what we do is we put out a bunch of videos, helpful value videos where we're not asking for a thing. And the reason why we do that is because we get the data of who's interested in it. And once someone watches it, then we retarget. Hey, you've watched 10 seconds of my video. So I don't know anything about your demographics, but something said, to me that you're interested, or you watch 25% or 75% or 100% of my video. So now I start to know, and I'm building my audience off of that. So instead of me trying to go, let's pull a list, I'm going to create my own audience, then show them the content. We do the opposite way, and we show the content first, and we let people who are interested say, hey, I'm interested. And then we know who to continue to market to. It's extremely cheap, it's easy, and there's no guesswork. The market tells you who's interested. Yeah.
And you can do, and I don't know if you do this, we do this. I learned a little tip early on. This sounds like I'm an egomaniac when I say I'm about to drop a gold nugget on you. But, and you might be doing this, John, but we pixel people. So you guys know, we have coaching, we have other programs, we have our masterminds. We do online marketing because we have products that we use to attract people, and John does too. And it's kind of funny when we're talking to real estate investors, we're like, hey, we're marketing to you because we want you to be our customers. Of course, if we didn't think we could add a lot of value to you, we wouldn't be marketing to you. But one thing that we do, this is a little nugget for real estate investors. And again, this is kind of what info marketers are doing now that a lot of real estate people aren't, is when you retarget people, the default is somebody hits your page and you retarget them and you start following them around. You can actually, you'll have to Google it, but you can find a delayed pixel. So we don't pixel people until they've been on our page for 20 to 30 seconds. Because a lot of people that are clicking around on the internet, they click on something, I don't know what this is, they bounce right out. They basically bounce within seconds. So they never made that connection with me. They won't remember me when I'm retargeting them because they didn't consume my content. But what we tend to do is like, it cuts our marketing budget by like half or more by not retargeting the people that never engaged with us. So if they come to our site, they read a few things, they see our brand, they see something there, and they engage with us at least a little bit, even if it's 20, 30 seconds, then we retarget them, because we're not targeting, it's not really retargeting if the people never engage to you. That's still just what we kind of call like really cold traffic, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's smart. It's about, there's two sides to that coin. I need to market to the people who I can actually help, who we might, have some type of relationship in the future. But the other side of that, which I think you just brought up, a lot of people don't talk about, is how do I make sure I'm not marketing to the wrong people?
Right.
Because that's just tons of lost money, lost revenue, or it's pure expense, because you're never going to get anything out of it.
Yeah. That little thing I just mentioned there is really kind of what's happening in direct mail. People are stacking their list, and like, I'm not going to mail to they came up on the they have equity, or they're an absentee owner. They came up on some of these broad lists that I mentioned. But when you stack lists, and like, well, do they also have delinquent taxes? Did they recently get divorced? Is there a death in the family? Like, you start to stack all these lists, and next thing you know, you're not mailing to the majority of your data that you have, because you have to decide what this means for you, but they don't have enough pain, right?
That's
like
right.
If you think of each list, probate, tax delinquent, recent divorce, have equity, absentee owner, all those things, every one of those is a motivational flag. And you're like, when I put all my data together, I want to see the people with 4 and 5 flags, not one.
Right.
And that's really what I just mentioned on online marketing. It's kind of the same. They didn't engage with me. They weren't that interested. So why would I spend any more money marketing to them? So I think that truthfully, and I know you agree with this, is that's where real estate investors are starting to get smart now, right? We used to just say, man, I'm making 20 grand a deal. I don't care if I spend 5. But when it starts to creep up from 5, 6, 7, 8 to get a deal, you're like, whoa, this is starting to get a little tight here. How can I get smarter about my ad spend, right?
Yeah. But you still got to, like, the proof is in the data, right? Like, there is such a thing as being, when you're online market, there's such a thing as being too targeted, because the more targeted you get, what happens is lead cost goes through the roof, because now you're bidding your bidding your budget, you're trying to get your information in front of a very small group of people. That makes it really expensive. So then you got to walk the line. Like, we want to target, but we don't want it too wide. Where's the medium?
Yeah.
Here's an example. So for us, when we started our marketing, we were thinking like, hey, if they watch 100% of a piece of our content, we're going to show them a second. If they watch 100% of that video, we're going to show them a third video. And if they watch 100% of that, we're going to make an offer like, hey, obviously you're interested. You want to do some business together. Can I help you in any way? That was not effective. What we've actually drug it down to is it's somewhere between 10-second video views and 25 per second video views are our sweet spot of people who actually turn into customers. So it goes against popular thinking. You would think like, they're consuming all my content, that's going to be our customers. But for some reason, people who consume a little and hop out, and we just keep showing more content too, and they go 10 seconds to 25% of a video and bail, those are actually the people who are turning into our customers.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it's just you just put it out there, and you got to watch the data. I think that's what marketing's all about, is watching the data, doing something.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, John, let's talk a little bit about. I want to talk about follow-up, and the value. Obviously, everybody knows that we've kind of been saying for years, hey, the money's in the follow-up, right? Yeah. And but specifically, I want to talk about messaging, and on this vein of what we're talking about here is marketing, right? Building relationship, building trust. Historically, now what's happened over the past couple of years is people have gotten more savvy in the real estate space, and they have some automation. Their CRM is sending out text messages and emails and maybe dropping some voicemails. But more often than not, what's happened is a lot of these folks are still a little bit behind. What they're sending out is, need to sell your house yet? I can buy it today. Need to sell your house yet? I can buy it today. Like, we're just kind of hitting them over the head still. And it's like they may not be ready for that yet. So I think there's been a movement along with what we're talking about here, is to still kind of provide value, to try to build the relationship, not be so aggressive on kind of asking for the next step, is just trying to add value so that they trust you more, right? So can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it's definitely a step in the right direction, right? You're keeping the conversation going, right, points, all that kind of stuff. So that's awesome. Sure. So then the next step is, once we got that machine, which most people have now, which you mentioned, it's what's the best message to be putting in front of them. And if you're just asking, how about now, how about now, how about now, people are going to turn that off. I mean, and we know that, right? Because you could just think about If you were ever asked out by somebody, or you were doing something with a salesperson, if they just called every day and just said, "How about now?" You get probably pretty upset.
Yeah.
Right? And
Like blocking
there's
the number.
no chance at this point.
Right.
Right. So you don't want to do that, obviously. So what do? Simple. It's easier said than done, but the rule is you just got to keep adding value, right? Your interaction can't just be one-sided. Are you ready to give me money yet? Which is basically what most people do. It's got to be, hey, here's how I'm going to continue to try to help you. Whether we do business or not, I'm going to continue to try to help you and give you stuff you can actually use and benefit from. And by the way, if you ever do get around to the point where you'd like to discuss selling for cash or revisit the offer, let's chat. That, I think, is the right format for the follow-up.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people struggle with, I mean, you're creating a lot of content now. We've been creating a lot of content for a long time at Flip Nerd. And I know a lot of what you're doing now, and I'm doing more and more of, and what, there's a little bit of a movement to what I call like kind of more native content, right? You're just like, you're in your car talking about things. And what I found is a lot of real estate investors, they might see guys like you or me and like, oh, it's easy for you guys because people think I'm in a studio here. I mean, I'm not going to show you guys my office, but I'm at a desk with a $70 webcam, and I have a nice microphone, a couple $100 microphone, and literally I'm on a PC. Like this isn't like a studio. I don't have any mixing boards here. Like we're using Zoom that you could get for, I don't even know, it's not that expensive. And so we're not done 500 shows like this. So it makes, maybe it feels like I have a leg up, but I don't really. And I think it's so easy to create content with this, right? Just go somewhere. You want the sound quality to be good. You don't want to be all shaky, but there's things you can do to help with that. But my point is trying to give tips to real estate investors to say, just be yourself. You don't have to be this big shiny brand. Like, people resonate with you as a real estate investor. Just be yourself, and you can tell a story. You could be walking through a house like, hey, I'm at a house that we just purchased from Maria. You probably don't want to give anybody's real name. And she was in a situation where her mom went to assisted living. And I just want to tell you about this, or if you ever find yourself in that situation, or anybody in this situation, here's how we helped her, and here's how we can help them too. And would you kind of talk about that a little bit, John, about just kind of using really what you do in business every day as a real estate investor as your stage, your platform for showing other people how you can help them?
Yeah, I mean, that's the easiest way to produce content, is you just document what you're already doing, right? If you're out there every day buying houses and helping people, then document it, right? Like, you don't even have to tell people, like, this is what I do. You can just show them. And you don't have to think about scripting or anything like that. Just like you said, you just kind of document your day. Maybe it's someone you helped. Maybe it's someone you wish you would have helped. Said, I wish I could. I don't know what I did wrong. They're in a bad spot. I know I could have helped them out, but this is sometimes where we end up, or whatever it is. Or it could be the opposite. Like, hey, they called for my help. These are not the type, I can't help with this situation. There's actually a better way to go. And if you're in this situation, this is actually the way don't call me. You need to go this way. This is what's best for you, right? Document all that stuff, not just the victories, but the losses. Just like authentically help people. And to be authentic. That's what sells today. The bright, the shiny, the overproduced doesn't. And I know, because I've tried it. And we tested it.
Me too.
and the studio stuff that's highly edited, and it's like people just thumbs down, don't watch it.
Yeah.
And then, it's the worst quality video and audio with just some random thoughts I have with some ums and ahs, but I just wanted to get it out. That gets the most traction. It's
the most real, right? Fortunately, it's the easiest to create, and it's the most real. People want to work with real people that they like and trust. And it's funny, we're clearing out our office has gotten kind of cluttered. We have this back room where we have a bunch of stuff, and we literally have these big green screens and like black screens and white screens, and like, I haven't used them in years, but I've been kind of toting them around when we moved from office to office. And I was like, man, we need to throw that away. Like, it's such a hassle to do that. Like, I'm never going to do it. I want to use my cell phone. I want to use a webcam. I want to, be real. And in the process, it's got to be easy. Otherwise we don't do any of it. Right.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that gets in the way is ego. At least that's how it was for me.
Yeah.
Because there's like, I want to control. It's like a social media thing, right? Like, everyone is this is common knowledge. It's like people have a real life, and it's like, well, what you put on social media is like your social media persona, right? And I think people are so just so focused on controlling image that they're scared to make any content. What if it doesn't come out right? What if my thoughts aren't put together just how I'd like them to be put together. What if someone doesn't like what I say and they post, hey, you're a jerk? And I think that's the biggest thing. People overthink it, and it's that ego that keeps us from putting anything out there, which is the funny thing is when you do have those mistakes, when you do mess up, when you do admit your failures, that again is what bonds us with other people, because they go, oh, you're not some bright, shiny object, like this totally different type of human being. Like, oh, you're just like me. Okay, I can listen to you. I can relate to you. So it's funny. The things that we're scared of is what actually bonds us to people the most.
Yeah, and John, I'm calling you out a little bit, but I know you've been pretty open about it, at least in our meetings and places where we've been. I don't know if you've ever shared this on social media before. You probably have, but you're naturally, most people are kind of surprised by it, but you're not that comfortable on camera or talking in front of people. I mean,
No.
when people come to your trainings, they're like, what? That's crazy. But I know, and I just want to kind of give some value to people that are listening. Like, if you're uncomfortable with that, you're like, nobody wants to see me, or I'm going to say something stupid or whatever. And maybe just give people some guidance on how to be real and how you kind of got over that fear that you had, I guess.
Yeah, so a few different ways. I'll just share what works for me, because I am that way. Like, people who come to our boot camps and our training and stuff, like, I'm out the second it ends. And like I come to your mastermind, and I love your mastermind, Mike, but the second it's over, I'm in my room.
You're gone,
like,
yeah.
That's how I roll. Because there's a lot of value in the meetings, so I love going to them. But the social stuff, like, I'm just uncomfortable with it. So what got me over that is, I kind of went through a progression. Number one is I stopped reviewing any of our content, right? I was like, so I might mess it up. I don't even know what's going on in the background. I don't care. I'm going to, one and done, I'm going to put it out there. So that was the first thing I did. Because what I would do in the beginning is I'd record something, I'd watch it, and it's never going to be good enough. You will never like it, right? So you just do it, put it out there. The second thing is you just got to do a lot of it. The more you do of it, like anything else in the world, the more comfortable you get. And then my other, I guess, big trick, if you want to call it a trick, is I always try to distract myself. It's the same thing I did, when I took a lot of our sales calls. I mean, I've been in sales for years. My favorite place to take a sales call was from the phone or from the car, because while I was driving, I was so focused on other stuff that I could kind of be myself, not overthink things, and it was just so much smoother. So I did the same thing when we produced content. If I'm driving to go take my kids somewhere or pick them up from a practice or go to the grocery store, that's where I'll usually, I just email myself throughout the day. Oh, I just had a great idea I'd love to share with people. Next time I'm in the car, I'll hold my cell phone, I'll put it in a holder, I'll do a Facebook Live, and I'll do it. And I love doing the Facebook Lives, because that's another thing that prevents me from reviewing. It's like,
right. It's out there now. It's done. Yeah.
No going back. I can't bail out in the middle, right? I can't be like, oh, that wasn't a good sentence, I'm going to turn this off and start over. So those are the things that force. So I do it in the car, so I'm not thinking about it. I do Facebook Lives, so it forces me to continue to take it. And then what I do is, if people really like the Facebook Live, that tells me this is good content. I'll boost it. I'll download it. I'll show it to more people. I'll put it in some of our marketing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's really not too difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. John, if folks want to learn more about you and what you're working on, you have tremendous value. I know you have a Facebook group that is high value. Every chance we get, we send people. You got to be a part of this group. Tell us the name of that group, and then tell us where they go. I know you have a few times a year you do sales boot camps, training boot camps, which I've been to. They're high value, but maybe tell us a couple of these links or places we can go.
Yeah, so our Facebook group is the REI Sales Academy. So just search that. And then my wife will, after that comes in, you have to be approved. So my wife will stalk you a little bit, make sure you're legit and not just there to sell a bunch of stuff, actually provide value and participate. Then we'll approve you and you're in, and it's a really cool group. And then MidwestRev.com is just it's our website. So our online training stuff is on there. We do boot camps 2 to 3 times a year. The information about whatever the next one is always going to be on there. There's places on there to get additional training for free and stuff like that. So that's kind of the central hub to find all the stuff we're doing is MidwestRev.com.
Awesome. We'll have the links down below. If you guys heard this and you couldn't write it down, we'll have it on flipner.com in the show notes. John, man, good stuff. Appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Yeah, always fun, Mike.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. This is episode number 462. If you haven't already subscribed to us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, YouTube, anywhere where you're watching or listening to this right now, we'd love for you to maybe show us a little love if you got some value out of today's show, and subscribe to us. Even just click the share button and share it on social media with your network. I say it all the time, but honestly, this is what fuels me forward, is knowing that we're adding some value to people, and hopefully you got some value today. So we appreciate you guys. Until the next episode, stay strong, stay cool, and keep fighting for freedom. We'll see you there. Thanks for listening to today's show. There are 3 ways I can help you start or grow your real estate investing business. If you're a new investor and just getting started, the Flip Nerd Investor Coaching Program is the most effective program in America. I've been coaching and mentoring new real estate investors for 10 years, and my students have literally purchased thousands and thousands of properties. Many of them started with little to no experience at all. Our program is a paint-by-numbers program where we tell you exactly what to do week by week to make sure that you don't get distracted on your way to results. We show you how to build a real business, not just create another job for yourself. New memberships are limited. You can learn more and apply or schedule a call with me and my team at flipnerd.com/coaching. If you're an experienced investor doing a minimum of 10 deals a year, up to 500 deals a year or more, or have a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio already, you should check out our powerful Investor Fuel Real Estate Investor Mastermind. Over 100 of the nation's leading real estate investors are members, and it's not uncommon for our members to 2 to 5x their business just from getting around other members at Investor Fuel. At Investor Fuel, each of us are business advisors to one another's businesses, but we don't stop at business. We focus heavily on becoming better people and living fuller lives. If you're looking for fuel for your business or fuel for your life, please check out investorfuel.com. Applications and interviews are required, as most investors are not a fit for our community. Please learn more at investorfuel.com. If you're not ready for coaching or masterminds but eager to start learning more about investing, please join our private Facebook group by visiting flipnerd.com/Facebook. New members get access to free training from us right here at flipnerd.com, and it's a community to safely ask your questions, a great place to get started. Simply go to flipnerd.com/Facebook to request your access today.